Hello, everyone, and welcome to Elevate Your Business. I'm Ed Jarecki and excited to take you on a journey through today's episode. Our goal? To inspire and empower you as you navigate your path to business success. Today, our guest is John Badgley, a seasoned expert in business performance and enterprise agility leading Kudzooo, an innovative CXO as a service model. With focus on sales success and strategy, John helps startups and small businesses navigate the complexities of business transformation. His unique approach emphasizes that 95% of businesses' life cycle is about performance, while 5% is dedicated to agility. John's methodology centers on aligning companies to better serve customers and outpace competition through intentional rapid change. At Kudzooo, he and his team frame business challenges, define targeted programs for change, and deliver measurable results in both performance, metrics, and agility. So without further ado, let's welcome John Badgley to our show. John, it's great to see you again. It's been great getting to know you a bit over these last few weeks. For our audience, tell us a little bit more about yourself and your business.
So first, thanks so much for having me. It's been great spending time with you. Obviously, we can talk forever. A little bit about me and my background. My undergrad is actually in fine art, concentrated in printmaking and glassblowing, and did a double minor in computer science and philosophy. And when I finally went to school, I did my master's a combination of MBA in operations and an MS in interactive telecommunications at NYU. Super proud of the work that I've done in my education space. The work that I've done over my career, I really would say started in the operations and printing space. So I did estimating and production in the printing industry for 5 years, and then moved into the .com when I saw the technology moving and the whole paradigm shifting, where the tools became the center of the focus and business and technology began to merge. So I'm one of the original .commers in the alley, spent 15 years in the .com space. Traditionally, I am a senior program manager, business analyst, and user experience architect all in one. In a lot of cases, we were seeing a true evolution of what business and technology were doing together. So I was usually leading the solutions for technical complex solution delivery, and did that for 15 years. In the last 15 years, I was introduced to Agile and Agility. And what Agile is a company's ability to intentionally cause and sustain a rate of change that is equal to or greater than your competition inside the space or the domain that the business lives. That's what agility is. The rest is all performance. So balancing the two and really focused is where I started to go and where the space started to go. So in the last 15 years, I did my first 5 in delivery, playing all the roles of delivery and starting off in that area, and then began to grow into the leadership, business, and delivery sides of a company to help them form and function as one company, better serving your customer against your competition. That is true agility. So business agility, the company functioning as one. So in the last 10 years, I've actually shifted into more of a coaching role where I'm working with executives, helping them team and build team across the executives and start to really vision around what the purpose, the intent, the future looks like for their companies, and then facilitating a journey that brings business and delivery along that ride so that you can get to that level of agility as a company. And to say one more, the work that I've done has mostly been at the enterprise scale, working with large organizations, helping them lead the shift from functioning as a company that's more at that enterprise scale, more challenged in their ability to pivot and change as a company, and actually enabling that to the last couple of years have been working with startups and SMBs, enabling them in their journey so that they can actually scale to sustainable success levels and take them next level in their journey as a company. And the role that I play there is somewhere between sales into delivery. And then in the delivery piece, I can either be coaching your company, joining your company, or being the company, like literally leading out the company as a fractional executive.
You've had an incredible career. How do you define success today?
Success is about reaching the level of coach. And I'll say a little bit more about that. In the career evolution that I've been through and what my journey looks, it's moved through different spaces. So in the beginning, you're taught to win. It's about competition. It's a meritocracy. It's about what are you providing? How are you getting to the top? How are you doing against your competition? It's very competitive. That's your school years. You've got grades, you've got merits, awards. You're constantly seeking to be at the top. And then you move into a phase where you're in your early career, and that's where you learn collaboration. And you're starting to work with other people. You're starting to understand that, whoa, what I did in my school isn't necessarily a match for what I'm doing right now. And you start to need to build your people skills. What's a team? How well am I going to do inside this team? You're taking coaching from someone who is a head coach, or you've got administration around the coaching squad that's now needing to work with you and help you build a level of collaboration. And then later, it's really about meeting a level of coach. That's where you're out to make a difference. And that's where you start to hit that later phase in your life where you've been the collaborator, you've been part of the team, and you've maybe raised up in certain levels of trust and competence and skills. But now it's about making a difference for other people. How can you replicate some of the skills and some of the difference that you've made with other people? So you get to this level of coach. So the level of coach where you're someone who listens for and is able to reliably deliver that which makes a difference for other people in areas of life that are important to them. If you listen to that, what it looks like actually is kind of like the end of the Doctor Strange movie, where the Ancient One is talking to Doctor Strange, and she walks through what's actually in his way. And he has this moment where she says, "Look, there's nothing that I could do to make you better than what you are as a doctor. But the one thing that you've been missing this whole time is that it's not about you." And when you get that as a coach, everything shifts. That this isn't about you and you winning or you winning at the expense of other people. This is really about what difference can you make for other people? So the question starts to become, who are you as coach? Who are you as team? Who are you as company? Who are you as world? What are the reflections of you that are going to start to show up in the rest of the world? And is it going to make any difference?
How did your definition start early in your career?
So my definition of success in the beginning was going to be a win at all costs. I knew that I had what it would take to get myself to the top, that I would probably be an entrepreneur. Now, something that stands out to me personally, if you were to ask other kids around me growing up what they would do, you've got your doctors, your lawyers, I'll be a fireman. All I knew how to say was, I want to build and sell companies. And so the vision that I had was kind of this Willy Wonka or Thomas Edison of companies and ideas around companies that make a difference for something that are saleable. So that's all I knew. It's like a baby in a high chair, and I didn't know that I was basically describing the career that I have now.
And that journey from then to now is never an easy one. What are one or two of the challenges and lessons learned you can pass along to our audience?
The first I'll start with is, and probably the key, is that people are in the way of everything they want. And it's the people that make the company and not the company that makes the people. In the work that I do, in the transformational work that I do, we refer to the work that I do with change as transformation. Transformation is made up of 20% process and 80% people. And at some time during that process, it's not an if, it's a when, you're going to run into the resistance to change. And the reality is everybody seems to respond as though, oh, this is so shocking. This is so surprising. We've run into the resistance to change. Like, where is this coming from? Well, the truth and the reality is that people's lives don't work. And then they bring them to your company and you hire them to make your company work. And so the truth and the reality is that people have things that they need to deal with in their world that's partially in your company, but mostly outside of your company. They don't live to work, they work to live. And the stream of the timeline that they spend is going to have a certain amount of time in your company, but there's an entire world that they live that's outside of your company. And so when resistance to change comes up, a lot of the symptoms that you need to listen for are what's inside that company, but there's others that are usually the blind spot of what's outside that company. And I'll say a little bit more about that. I did work about 5 years ago that resulted in a body of work I call G5. G5 is Genesis 5. It means that you that your best work is from a genesis. It's actually from getting to nothing so that you can create something. And so the genesis of your best work in agility is actually from 5 components. It's personal agility, business agility, career, coach, and change model agility. And one of the ones that you'll notice in there is personal and career agility. So there's the who you are, but there's also the who you are as a function of your career. So people live their lives, they've got their early 20s where you're fresh out of college, and now you're moving into your 30s to 50s where everyone takes on their life's greatest responsibilities. You've got your marriage, kids, a house, and the challenges that they're dealing with outside of work. And so when the resistance to change comes up, how do you deal with that? 3 ways that I'll offer to get there and deal with that resistance to change. The first is your greatest access to other people, which is your listening. So it starts with your listening, getting into their world, getting them heard. When you hear them ring back that that's right, you know that that's their counter acknowledgement that you've actually gotten into their world and you understand what's working, what's not, probably inside their world, either inside or outside the company. And 80% of negotiation starts there. You will most likely find that when you're dealing with resistance or conflict inside your workplace, that 80% of it is resolved in just getting someone heard and what's really not working for them. The second part is to align, finding your shared values, designing a strategy that works together, and preparing yourself to make a decision to move forward. And the third is the decision itself, resolving the conflict and ensuring that it's truly resolved, that it actually works, that the strategy that you're choosing and your alignment is really there, and creating agreements to move forward and to change. So from listening into alignment into the change, people begin to respond to change not like it's difficult or that the decision was difficult when they know that there's a practical success level that you have in your ability to resolve conflict and get everyone heard inside your environment so that you can move forward with a decision for change.
One of the things that pops to my mind as you were talking is this really is a complete function of leadership. And not just leadership, but specific styles necessary to propagate the type of change necessary. So transformational leadership, situational leadership, affiliative leadership, styles that really represent listening, really represent understanding. And then those leaders that have the ability to leverage that both at that individual level, as well as to propagate it across the team and ultimately across the organization. Any response from a leadership style perspective and how leaders of these companies, of business owners that we're working with, how should they interpret and start to modify their own approach so that they can leverage those 3 principles that you just outlined to change their organization?
So the first that I would start with is integrity. Integrity is not a character trait. Integrity is doing what you said you would do, when you said you would do it, in the way you said you would do it. Without integrity, nothing works. So you said you were going to be here at 9 o'clock. When you're showing up at 9:01, you are out integrity. You have an opportunity to communicate and get that restored. But the point is that you kept your word or you did not keep your word. Living in integrity is literally you are either in integrity or you are out integrity. And you can restore integrity by taking responsibility for the breakdown, like declaring it first, taking responsibility for that breakdown, getting the impact that it had over there for them. And then once you've gotten that clear, you can make a new promise for the future. And the new promise for the future is you can count on me for this. And last, if it's necessary, put a structure in place. I'll set an alarm. I'll have someone hold me accountable so that the future that I'm promising you will be guaranteed from here moving forward. Living from integrity of what you hear, what I just said, the structure and the format of leadership from integrity first will always work. People will be hearing you being reliable from someone they can count on, someone that they actually hear as leader. Like, I want to trust you because you live from integrity. The second I would offer is authenticity. Authenticity is telling the truth about what's there and what's not there, like your life depends on it. Like you actually have to literally tell the truth. You can't function from anything but the truth, not only about where you really are, like what you want to do versus what you don't want to do, right? But also telling the truth about what you're really dealing with factually here, right? If I'm looking at myself and I'm overweight, telling myself that I'm not overweight, there's no truth in that, and there won't be any actions taken to make a difference for how I'm keeping myself together. So authenticity is that opportunity to really tell yourself the truth. Do I want to work out right now? Do I not want to work out right now? And even if you don't, staying in action is what get you there. That's the integrity conversation. And now for the third, which is responsibility. So if you're going to be a leader, if you're going to be somebody in a position of authority, and so therefore you're going to be an influence and a decision maker in any company, you must take responsibility for the results you're producing, not only for yourself, but for other people, and all the way to the scale of company. If you're going to be in a company, you want to lead that company, you're responsible for what happens in the whole company. There is no blame and fault. Blame and fault is just handing off responsibility to someone else for the results you were supposed to produce. So you must take responsibility for the results you're producing. And so again, that's for you and for anyone else that's working inside your company, all of the systems, anything that's happening inside that company, the results that your company is producing are the results that you are actually responsible for. So integrity, authenticity, ownership, or responsibility.
Some great golden nuggets there for people to consider as they think about how they best become better leaders for their organizations to be able to grow and prosper. So I'm going to shift our conversation a little bit over to innovation. I'm going to start with my definition. People, process, and technology wrapped in a culture driving win-win-win outcomes. Win for the client, win for the business, and win for all of the people. So when you consider that, how do you leverage innovation in order to help your business and your clients drive their businesses to success?
I'll start with the impact of business technology and innovation. My opening answer is you focus on what makes a difference for people. In the dot-com, running from the mid-90s forward, business became technology. It's the first time we've ever seen that. So business shifted where it wasn't something that we had as just a set of manual processes. Actually, business became technology. And then we moved into the 2000s and technology evolved where we had the revolution in the mobile social technical movement. People were now mobile and they were social with their technology. And that's where people became technology. So first business became technology and then people became technology. Now we're at the beginning of a whole new movement where we have AI and Web3 coming in. And this is where technology wants to become the people. So first business became technology and then people became technology. And now that technology wants to become the people. And what's the future opportunity for that? So the future opportunity is that we have an opportunity to start to solve things that really make a difference, where we can really start to go to work on what matters to people and what they're really dealing with. We can start to solve for things like healthcare for all. We can start to solve things like IP protection, where if you have an opportunity to create something, that you should be the one that benefits from that. Where we can solve for things like election integrity, where we just went through an election. And one of the greatest challenges over this past election was, is everybody going to trust this? Doesn't matter what we think about the candidates or their platforms or their policies, but do we trust that we went through a process that had integrity, that we can actually trust the outcomes of this process? Those are some of the top items that will evolve where the technology's use is as the technology starts to become us. We're actually going to start to use artificial intelligence for decision-making purposes, simulations and extensions of our own capabilities, operating efficiencies. The technology is going to further and further move into the space of where human knowledge work once sat. And the question is, what are the levels of time and trust we're going to apply to that to get it there? Here's the challenge. Our real challenge and our responsibility right now for the revolution we're about to go through is that we design systems that work for everyone at the expense of no one, including me. We have to design systems that work for everyone at the expense of no one, including me. Most of the politics and the platforms and the policies and the division that's happening right now are living in a way that are non-tolerant around any kind of diversity, and they've created greater separation than we've ever seen. And the reality is also that we've never had a greater respect or enjoyment of diversity than this time in history. And the opportunity is that we don't need to have forced inclusion or forced integration. What we have to have is an opportunity to allow people to be who they really are in whatever space is necessary for them to do that, but not to do it at the expense of other people.
What you say is interesting. There have been organizations with a lot of layoffs recently. And what's really interesting about it is none of the upper echelon are the ones that are being let go. The people that are being let go are all the roles that can be replaced by technology. My theory is that they are being replaced because of technology. But what's missing in this whole equation is the responsibility to help all of these people really learn and understand the skills they need to survive in the world that you've outlined and the world that I also believe we're evolving to. One of my most common messages to people is it's not about AI replacing jobs. It's AI replacing people without the skills to perform in the new roles that are being formed because of the technology shift. This puts a tremendous amount of responsibility on everyone out there to grow their own skills, including understanding and applying tools like artificial intelligence. Any thoughts or response to that?
When we think of the expression, it's important to understand what the expression of AI will replace people means. AI is really at the earliest or the lowest levels of trust, and I think we need to take this as a phased trust approach. There's too many people that are out of the gate attempting to go to Mars or create driverless cars or use it in medical life-changing ways that it's not developed a level of trust it deserves. Where we need to start is at those lowest levels of, okay, so can I do the things that I would have a human assistant do first? Can I schedule more appointments? Can I respond to more RFPs? Can I extend this out to create better ideas or help me make better decisions or simulate certain models of thinking? Starting small, starting with the ball that you kick in your backyard so you can learn to play a bigger game. AI needs to start there, but there's nobody telling anybody what to do with AI. They just unleashed it. So it's one of those environments right now that lives in the world that's completely unregged. Only other than to say, okay, so what are we going to give it permission to have access for information? Where is it actually going to have access to start to generate some of the images and ideas that it's generating? AI is still dependent on us as a source. In fact, actually, that's where some of the greatest disasters. It's already killing people. It's already stealing some of the most creative work out there and trying to repurpose it into something that it's claiming as its own or an original created piece. It's violating IP everywhere. There are multiple disasters, tragedies that AI has already created, but that's on us. We're the ones that are accountable for what we've allowed and enabled AI to do so far. And that's where certain guardrails and regulations need to be put in place. Look at the drone space. You cannot take a drone and fly it higher than the lowest flight deck of a helicopter or some plane. If we did allow that, we'd be taking down planes with our own drones. You have to have immediate regulations that go into place. Elon Musk has already warned us about what the potential damage is that we do with AI out of the gate if it's left unregged. And so my answer around AI is to start responsibly small. We need to have certain regs around it. I don't think we're doing ourselves a favor by leaving it unregged out of the gate. So I think it's really something that we're going to have to learn through phases, but phased in trust for what we have the technology do for us and the kinds of problems that we're looking to solve.
I'll agree with you on the point that from a practical application perspective, for many of the small business owners, and I just did an article and it shows that 88% of businesses have already started to dabble with AI, but many of them don't know what they're doing with it. And so to your point, continue to practice, ask questions, engage it in small ways that are beneficial to generating whatever outcomes you're looking to deliver. At the same time, on the flip side of it, I think the challenge is associated with slowing down those that are leveraging AI for exponential change and growth. There is no stopping that, whether it's the United States on their open commerce or it's other countries that are doing it for their own reasons driven from governments or what have you. So bottom line is this area of regulation, I don't disagree there either. Matter of fact, in the United States, if I'm not mistaken, last thing I read is there's some self-regulation that larger organizations are trying to put in place, which is always kind of suspect if you ask my opinion about it. And the other side of that same coin is the fact that no matter what, we can put all the regulation in place that we want. But the cyber criminals out there, the fraudsters out there, they're going to leverage it in whatever ways, and they don't care who they hurt. So I think this is going to be a very interesting world as we go forward. I need to produce a new podcast show, and I thought about it just about this topic because you can go on for days with the opinions, the thoughts, the next steps, et cetera. So I appreciate that. Final takeaway for our audience, if there was one thing that you would offer them that said they really must consider for their business and life success, what would that be?
So my answer is to find you. Who are you in this life? What areas of life are important to you? Areas of life can include your family, your relationships, your fitness, your finances, your spiritual life. You have areas of life that will be important to you as you discover who you are in this life. And that is actually something I'll offer from a later in life view forward. One thing that I got recently is how critical a work-life balance is. And if there's one thing that COVID taught us, and one thing I got, is that I fell in love with my life. I have an incredible life outside of the career and companies that I've worked for now. And if there's an opportunity that I could potentially inspire, it would be to build a life that you seamlessly live, whether or not you're working, whether or not you're with a company. Again, it's the people that make the company, not the company that makes the people. You have an opportunity to either coach companies, join companies, or be the company. And it's not always just join the company. You're not stuck in an echo chamber where you're just looking to find a job. There's an opportunity for you to find other ways that you make money. So that's the first that I would offer. Next, I would go to minimalism. One thing that we got in that COVID time is that it's about value over volume. I think one thing that people have discovered is that you don't need more, you need less. You need more of what you value and less of the volume. You can function so much on the time that you give yourself. When you need less, you have now given yourself the gift of having to make less to feed the less that you need. And so the real magic is actually in being a minimalist, not being the maximalist who needs to, let's say, have friends over, show off that new, flex that you've got, whatever the flex could be. If you have a success model that's built on volume, promise I won't be interested. And so minimalism is kind of a next. After that, I would say time. Time is your greatest resource in this life. Protect it with everything you've got. The time lost is something you're not going to be getting back. So take this time to spend on only those things that are the most valuable to you. The time that you spend with someone is your greatest gift. The time that you spend on anything that you're doing is your greatest gift. Last I'll offer is around legacy. What is the difference you're making? Who are you making it for? Legacy was always this interesting concept like, writing my will. But it's really not about that. The life and the legacy that you have is a reflection of the people in your life back on you for the difference that you've made. Say that again. Your life is the reflection of the difference that you've made for the people in it. So who are you making the difference for? And what is the difference that you're making? When they roll that 10-second video of your work at the end of the Emmys, what's it going to look like? Is it going to have the work that you're most proud of or that they're most proud of? What was the difference that you're making? You have a lot of options how you do that. Is it going to be about you? Is it going to be about them? Is it going to be about family, your friends, your school, your what is it that get really clear about that legacy conversation for yourself so that you're ready when it happens, because you also don't know when it's going to happen. So you have that opportunity to create that future out there for you that speaks to the difference you want to make. On the day that you go, who's going to be there? And what are they going to say about you? What are they going to say a year after that? What are they going to say 5 years after that? What's the generation in your family after you going to say? What was the difference that you made? Are you even going to be remembered? So, be careful about what you're investing your time, your space, your value, and your needs on. And so I would say before I used to think of my work-life balance as how seamlessly could I make my career-to-career moves or my job-to-job moves. And so my life was almost all focused on my career. And as long as I had that income to pay for the debt that I generated, I would be good. When you get to the other side of that, you realize you don't have much life that you've created to invest in it. And so start now, find the you that you are, then start to design around that what makes a difference for you and for others and the people that you're making the difference for in this life.
Great insights and a lot for people to consider as they're considering their life, their business, and the success they're seeking to achieve. So thank you, John, for sharing your invaluable insights today. To our viewers, we have an important question for you. Are you ready to transform your business into an agile powerhouse that thrives in today's unpredictable market? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this episode with your network. Use the hashtags business performance, enterprise agility, change management, leadership strategy, and business transformation to join the conversation. Until next time, keep innovating and stay agile, resilient, and innovative. Have an awesome day, everyone.